For the last 2 months, every time that Matt Melzak, voice of the Toledo Walleye, has joined us, we've just been talking about wins because that's all the fish have been doing. 18 straight. Just touch on what has been so special about the streak.
I think the biggest part of it has been the defensive side of it, Carly. I mean, when you look at the way Toledo has just held teams to not scoring goals, because I mean, let's face it, they've lost a lot of guys to the American League again. Call-ups have certainly hurt them. You've had Brett McKenzie get hurt. You know, you're still missing Riley McCord, who's up in the American Hockey League. Gordy Green was up the last weekend. He's now back. But you're missing Bliss. You're missing Warad. You're missing Tutayev. These guys in this month of March have gone up to the American Hockey League, and this team's continued to win. Well, why have they continued to win? Because they've managed to hold on to that defensive side of it. They're still not allowing any goals. They allowed 2 on Friday night. They allowed 1 on Saturday. They just, you know, and that's the goaltending. And right now it's Sebastian Kosa because John Lethman is up in the American Hockey League. But you look at it's the goaltending and then it's the defensive core as well. And as long as those things can stay intact for Toledo, they're going to keep having opportunities to win games if they can piece together just enough offense, and they've been able to do that.
So you kind of touched on another thing. A lot of players getting called up, being brought back down. I mean, young players stepping up huge right now in this stretch. Another one of those guys, Ryan Cox, 2 games, 2 goals. Just talk about the immediate impact that he's had.
Yeah, I got a young man out of Niagara University, Dan Watson, and he even credited, when I asked him about Ryan on Saturday, he credited Ed Burkholder, who is the Toledo Walleye scout, and he's kind of stationed up in that area, the Niagara area, Niagara Falls area, so he hits a lot of the OHL, and then he hits the college circuit there, you know, in New York, and he got a chance to watch Ryan a lot over the last 4 years, 5 years really for him, and getting a chance to see him play a lot, and said he'd be a nice fit. He's a centerman. He can get right in there. He's not the biggest kid, but boy, he can get in the corners and do some dirty work. And you look at the 2 goals he scored, both ended up being game winners, by the way, Carly, this weekend. He went to the front of the net. Brandon Hawkins hit him with a great pass, Gordy Green as well, and then he's got a couple of goals, and he can bring that little extra element to the game. He's a guy who had, you know, I mean, not huge points at Niagara University, but he had enough. And you could see those kind of guys can translate sometimes when they get more offensive opportunity to be very good players in the ECHL level and maybe even beyond for a guy like Ryan Cox. But yes, big weekend for him. And now he's going to be here for a while. So let's see how he continues to develop it well. It says a lot about what Dan Watson thought of him. He put him right in between Brandon Hawkins and Gordy Green this past weekend.
Right, and maybe a spark that the offense didn't really need because they've been electric this whole month and throughout this win streak, but they're peaking at the right time. You've got a guy like Cox coming in, final stretch of the season coming up. Just talk about what the Walleye need to do to finish out as either the top team or that second place and keep hold of the home ice advantage.
Well, they got to keep winning first off because Cincinnati still has a game in hand. They used one of those this weekend and passed Toledo, but they still have one more in hand. So, you know, Toledo just needs to keep winning. There is a game left between Toledo and Cincinnati. It's at the Huntington Center. Well, I mean, come on, 9 of the last 10 games that are remaining are at the Huntington Center for the Toledo Walleye. But yes, they just got to keep finding ways to win games. Cincinnati's on a heater too. Outside shot of maybe catching Idaho. They'd have to slip up a little bit. But you know, right now, Idaho looks like they're going to be the top team going into the playoffs. So you got to keep that in mind as you go forward. You want to have home ice those first 2 rounds.
So very impressive road game wins, hoping that momentum continues on the home ice this weekend. They've got 3 at home.
3 in a row at home. Reading Friday, Greenville Saturday and Sunday. A team from the North and a team from the South Division coming in this weekend.
Well, it should be fun to watch. You'll have the call and we will have the highlights here on Sports Nightly. Thank you, Matt, for joining us.
Thank you, Carly.